afternoon, brothers and sisters. Welcome to Sunday School. It's good to see all of you here today. I have a couple of sign-up sheets that I've been asked to pass around. One is for the service project for next Saturday morning, the 3-square meal delivery at the Steak Center from 9 to noon. Our ward specifically is in need of 10 to 12 individuals, basically age 12 and up. That's the only restriction I was told. And here's the sign-up sheet for that. So I'm going to pass that around. And then this is the missionary dinner calendar for October. The squares in yellow are the squares that are currently available. So I'm passing that around as well. Just to read, it's teaching today. Brother Stanley will be giving our opening prayer. Brother Stanley will be giving our closing prayer.
Dear Heavenly Father, we're grateful for this day. We're grateful to come to church. We're grateful for all of our many blessings. We're grateful for Sister Rita and her willingness to teach us this afternoon. Pray that Spirit would be with her and with us today. And grateful for all of our blessings. And I say this in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
First of all, I'd like to say you finished the reading assignment. Good for you, because I understand this is supposed to be the longest one in this whole course. So, kudos. And I also realized yeah. Okay, I didn't see to mention it. Okay. All right. I forgot my little clicker. Not. Well, I guess I'm not using one today. As I researched for this lesson, I came across a new word I didn't know, anamorphic art. And if you don't know what that is, I didn't. It's a piece of art that if you stand on one side, you get a perspective. For example, a fish. And then if you go to the other side, the piece of art that they used, it was like a long-legged large bird that kind of stork-like. And they really looked nothing alike, but the different perspective from looking at the piece of art made them entirely different. You probably remember the craze some years ago, and the person had a blue dress if you saw it, or it was another color like gold or something, just depending on how you saw it. Well, I think there's a lot of that in this particular lesson. We have the Lord's way and the world's way. And often they are very, very different. Even for church members, we had people who were going on Zion's Camp. Some people think that Zion's Camp is a strange name for it. It should have been called Zion's Expedition. Or certainly because a camp sounds like it is stationary. But Zion's whatever, there were people who thought they were going to fight and through violence settle the problem in Missouri, but that was not the Lord's way. That was definitely not what he had in mind for his followers. If you'll look at the handout, when someone read the first paragraph on the handout, the Lord works. Yes, thank you.
The Lord works from the inside out. The world works from the outside in. The world would take people out of the slums.
will open your scriptures, please, to section 102, verses 1 and 2. So, shortly after the church was organized, the prophet held periodic church conferences. This is something we do today, and I know many of us look forward to them for various reasons. When I was a little twerp, I looked forward to them because I didn't have to get up and get dressed and go to church on Sunday. Yay! I could sit in my pajamas. Some days I still feel that way. But as we grow and we learn to appreciate the wisdom and the knowledge that is offered us, it is so amazing to actually get to hear the prophet, to get to hear his apostles, to get to hear the 70s, the leaders of our organization. I treasure these 2 weekends twice a year and replay and replay, as I'm sure I'm not the only one. This is our modern day scripture. Okay, who could read 102 verses 1 and 2? Betsy? Yes.
This day, a general council of 24 high priests assembled at the house of Joseph Smith Jr. by revelation and proceeded to organize the high council of the Church of Christ, which was to consist of 12 high priests and 1 or 3 presidents, as the case might require. The high council was appointed by revelation for the purpose of settling important difficulties which might arise in the church, which could not be settled by the church or the bishop's council to the satisfaction of the parties.
Okay, would somebody read the next paragraph on your handout? Missionaries, one of you? Thank you.
The purpose of disciplinary membership council is to save the souls of transgressors, protect the innocent, and safeguard the purity, integrity, and good name of the church. Though this process and the atonement of Jesus Christ, through the atonement of Jesus Christ, the member can receive forgiveness of sins, regain peace of mind, and gain strength to avoid transgressions and purity.
Okay, thank you. And this section, 102, is all about how do we run council. And we have changed the name. It started out as a disciplinary council, and now it's a membership council. Okay, very good. Would someone read verse 23? Would you, brother? Elder?
In case of penalty, respecting document principle, if there is not a sufficiency written to make the place case in the minds of the council, the president may require and obtain the mind of the Lord by revelation.
Okay. I sometimes can be a little snarky, especially in my mind. And I read that verse and thought, well, yes, of course, you look for inspiration. We have been taught that our whole life. And our prophet has really emphasized we need personal revelation. But then I have also been counseled, as I did the research, to give these first people a break. Personal revelation was not necessarily something they had even been aware of. They knew it happened sometimes, but they had not been taught to seek personal revelation. And so this was a big deal for them. Oh, if you need additional help, ask the Lord. Today we would say, of course, you should have done that first. But this, again, step by step, line upon line. All righty. Robertson was the state president in Nashville, he felt that when he was in charge of membership, and then it was a disciplinary council, that he was the one that was being judged. He had a very difficult decision to make, and he put a lot of time and thought and prayer into it. And by the time he had finished with this decision, he said, I felt this whole process, I was being judged by the Lord, and I had to get it right. So yes, there's judgments happening, and we all the time today are told, don't judge others. But here's one case when it was the responsibility of this state president to make a judgment. Alrighty, so, I do want to, before we go to this, I'd like to tell you about the very first disciplinary council in the church. Once this was organized, so we're talking in Ohio, Brother Thayer charged Brother Curtis Hodges 2 things: an error in spirit and an error in the manner of his address. It seems, and there were 2 witnesses that both verified this, when Brother Hodges would get up, he would get so loud, and he must have been from the fire and brimstone school, because he would be so loud that they said the spirit was ruined for everybody. And they had, on occasion, they had neighbors run outside to see what was happening because somebody was screaming so loud. Well, at the disciplinary council, they did say, yes, this is a problem, Brother Thayer, Brother Hodges, and Brother Hodges then agreed. I get it now. It wasn't that I was feeling the spirit, it was that I was really trying so hard that I lost the spirit. And that was the first recorded disciplinary council case. All right, so now, how would you explain being overcome by the world? What happens when you're overcome by anything?
Defeated.
Absolutely, both. Anybody have anything to add?
You can't hear what you mean to hear.
Exactly right. Yes.
Your priorities are in the wrong place.
Oh, good.
Many people feel like they can't come back into the church. They can't face the church until they go through the disciplinary council, or whatever they need to do in order to get back.
Okay, would someone read the 3rd paragraph on your handout? Elder Joseph B. Worthley. Thank you.
Joseph B. Worthley, Department of False Apostles. Brothers and sisters, beware of covetousness is one of the great afflictions of these latter days. It includes greed and resentment, often it leads to bondage, heartbreak, and crushing, ruin, and death.
Okay, so he zeroed in on one of the things that was affecting the people in the early church. And I have, when I first started preparing for this, I kept thinking these people who had gone to Missouri, they had given up so much to become part of the church in many of their cases, and then they were they weren't able to get along. Here they had made covenants to be part of something bigger, and they were not keeping their covenants. And I never heard exactly how, but I do want to share some speculation that one of the people I listened to had said, what about a couple who were in Missouri, and they said, you know, the Lord has chosen this area for us, and it is going to be ours. And their children went out and played with other children and said, oh, well, you're not going to be here very long because God has given this area to, they were then being called Mormons. And how would anybody hearing that feel? And if people there were of the attitude, as they dealt with their neighbors, that they were God's blessed and you are not, how would it color the way that they interacted with one another? So as I thought about that, thinking that you are blessed by God, I then had a different slant on these wonderful, wonderful people that maybe weren't blatantly coveting, but perhaps that just colored the way they interacted with their neighbors. Any comment on that?
Yeah, they were kind of acting spiritually entitled, and that was not go well with
Nor the Lord.
yeah, true.
They had problems both places, and the Lord was not happy with them. Okay.
And so with that,
Yes.
visiting from Washington State, we had a state conference last week, and one of the points they shared was knowing the gospel is true. That's the first thing, having the gospel be relevant in our lives. And hearing Bishop Blasco's prayer, the sacrament meeting, I love what he said in that prayer. That right now, there's something happening in our country. This very minute, from what I understand, there, and I'm not bringing politics into it, but Charlie Kirk, and how that become a lightning rod. How do we make relevant what we're talking about here and what happened, 150 years ago to today? That, as he prayed, that the love of the Savior is what is our focus. And so sharing that is, I don't know, I've been emotional in this chapel before.
Tell us your name. Are you?
I'm Sam Smith.
I thought you were. A lack of hair made me
Yes, I
question.
have a different hairstyle. I had the hair down to my shoulders until I gave my missionary farewell at that pulpit. But anyhow, it's just, that's what we need to focus on, is where there's divisiveness. And even though we're well-meaning and we know what's true, making it relevant in our lives, that's what we need to do today. That's what our gospel doctrine class needs to be about, is learning, studying, remembering, and then applying it in our lives. So, anyhow.
Thank you. Okay. We already read that, but here's his picture, just a little party here. The next handout you have, when the saints were forced out. Will someone read that, please?
When the saints were forced out of Jackson County, they struggled to find adequate shelter when the
section 103, verses 1 through 4. As we read this aloud, would you look for the reasons the Lord gave for allowing the saints in Missouri to be persecuted and driven from their homes? Who will read these 4 verses? Thank you.
Verily I say unto you, my friends, behold, I will give unto you revelation and commandment, that you may know how to act in the discharge of your duties concerning the salvation and redemption of your brethren, who have been scattered on the land of Zion, being driven and smitten by the hands of their enemies, on whom I will pour out my wrath without measure in mine own time. For I have suffered them thus far, that they might fill up the measure of their iniquities, that their cup might be full, and that those who call themselves after my name might be chastened for a little season with a sore and grievous chastisement, because they did not hearken altogether unto the precepts and commandments which I gave unto them.
So, why is the Lord allowing this?
They need to be chastened.
They needed to be chastened. And I get it. I gave you this opportunity and you're blowing it. Paraphrasing the Lord. Okay. Alrighty, so in verses 5 to 7, it says, if we hearken to the Lord's counsel, we will have the power to prevail. However, then we have verses 8 through 10. Will somebody read those, please? Yes.
But inasmuch as they keep not my commandments, and hearken not to observe all my words, the kingdoms of the world shall prevail against them. For they were set to be a light unto the world, and to be the saviors of men. And inasmuch as they are not the saviors of men, they are as salt that has lost its savor, and is thenceforth good for nothing, but to be cast out and trodden underfoot.
Okay, that is harsh. How do you feel about being chastened by the Lord? It's not easy to be chastened by anybody, but especially the Lord. So that is tough. So,
Yep.
yes.
I think we have to kind of separate that between the normal scenario of living here upon the earth and living physically, as opposed to being blessed spiritually, and then being chastened by the Lord. You can be here and you can be doing what's right, you're still gonna have bad stuff happen to you. It's still gonna rain on your garden party, and the Lord didn't do that to you on purpose. Some people there that you love are still going to die. The Lord isn't punishing you. He's not taking something away from you. He promised you forever. We're all gonna die. And we keep getting that confused. We keep getting the physical confused with the spiritual. That's exactly what Judas Iscariot did. He got the physical confused. He thought the Lord was going to get and come here and save them from the Romans. And he missed the part of what the Lord came for.
Exactly. And that brings us to this. What are some, and you just gave one, example of how hearkening to the Lord's counsel gives us power to prevail? My first thought was Noah. I mean, obvious. If you hearken to the Lord, you don't drown. Easy. What are some others from scriptures or from your life? Yes.
When Nephi kind of just goes willingly, not suppressing the Nephi takes full famine.
There are so many with that wonderful family that we could talk about. Absolutely. Someone else.
Lot, when he left the cities that the Lord said he's going to destroy.
Absolutely. I know there are, oh, thank you.
Sometimes it's as simple as being able to stand up when something is going on in your life. You may not be delivered from it, but you can.
He doesn't solve our problems for us, but he gives us the strength solve them for ourselves, or to ride them out, whatever the situation is. Absolutely. Okay. That brings us to section 103, verse 12. Would someone read that, please? Thank you, Carla.
For as much tribulation as I have said unto you in a former commandment cometh the blessing.
So, after much tribulation, nobody is getting through life skiing on perfect snow to a perfect landing. It doesn't happen. We are having opportunities to grow, develop, and become. Okay, so when did Carla say?
Much tribulation.
After much tribulation, and also in time. So we're talking the Lord's time, not today, next week, next month, or in 2 years, or as it has turned out, 180 years or something like that. Yeah, in time. All right, would someone read verse 20? Yes.
But I say unto you, mine angel shall go up before you, and also my presence, and in time you shall possess the goodly land. In time.
Time. In time. Okay. And would someone read 21 through 25, please? Thank you.
Verily, verily, I say unto you, that my servant Joseph Smith Jr. is the man to whom I likened this servant, to whom the Lord of the vineyard speak, in the parable which I have given unto you. Therefore let my servant Joseph Smith Jr. say unto the strength of my house, my young men and the middle aged, gather yourselves together unto the land of Zion, upon the land which I have bought with money that has been consecrated unto me. And let all the churches send up wise men with their monies, and purchase lands even as I have commanded them. And inasmuch as mine enemies come against you to drive you from my goodly land, which I have consecrated to the land of Zion, even from your own lands after these testimonies, which ye have brought before me against them, ye shall curse them. And whomsoever ye curse, I will curse, and ye shall avenge me of mine enemies.
Okay. What parable is he talking about? It's found in section 101. Do you remember how it went? The Lord of the vineyard asked his people to do what? Yes, plant olive trees and then get them going and build a wall and then build what? A tower. And from everything I've researched, a tower is symbolic of, actually, the temple. The tower is the temple. And he wanted his people to build a temple. And who is the Lord of the vineyard? Well, in the research I did, it's Joseph Smith. And he's asking his people to follow his and God's directions and be obedient. And did they? In the parable? I know it was section 101, and that was last week, so you have to remember back. Okay.
They didn't build the tower.
They didn't. They did not build it. And what happened?
Their enemies came upon them.
Yes, they did. And it was ugly. And he said, all you had to do. But they said, well, it's a time of peace. You know, we got the other part done. Wasn't that enough? And and then they lost it all because they didn't build the tower or the temple. Okay, that was clarified in this section. Would someone read the next little paragraph that starts at the end? Thank you.
At the end of the High Council meeting, in which church leaders discussed the situation of the Missouri Saints, Joseph Smith said that he would travel to Zion and help redeem it. Approximately 30 or 40 of the men present also volunteered. Over the next few months, 8 church leaders who had been called worked diligently to prepare for the expedition. Eventually, over 200 recruits joined Zion's camp for the march to Missouri.
Okay, so, and I was looking at that. Let's see if I get this right. Let's see, Hiram Smith and I think Wyman White traveled other places to try and get support for Zion's camp. And they had gone to Michigan. And coming up a little later, you'll see how the people from Michigan meet the people from Ohio. And we have a little back and forth. What does the Lord ask for in the number of men? He does. Do they get 500? So if you don't get 5, get 4. If you don't get 4, get 3. If you get 3, get 2. But you at least have to have 100. Okay. So, yes, they don't talk about it a lot, but there were at least 12 women who went. And one quick story, the women were doing a lot of the laundry. And Wilford Woodruff said, I can do my own. This is while they're on their expedition. And he knew that the women had boiled and scrubbed. And so he boiled his clothes, and then he tried to scrub. And the women were laughing and laughing. Because if you boil in the stains first, they will never come out. And that's, he had gotten to reverse, and they thought that was hilarious. There were also apparently 2 women who were unmarried, because some of them went as families. And there were 2, in the research, there were 2 women who didn't have corresponding men's last name in the camp. So there is that. And one of they only raised $300 to pay for everything this large group needed in the way of food and supplies. And one woman was an upholsterer in Boston when she heard the word that they needed. And she had saved $150. And she sent that $150. She stayed in Boston, but she sent the money as support. That was half of what they raised. They had complete families. They had a lot of poor people, that's true. But they did have people of means in other places. And she sent, I thought, it reminded me of the widow's mite, giving all she had. And they wouldn't have made it without that. And they had a hard time as it was. There were also some 10 children that were there. And I don't know if George A. Smith was counted, he was 16, but was counted as a child or as a man. But he was sitting by the side during a lot of activity one of the days of the Zion camp. And Joseph Smith went over and took the time out. And essentially, Joseph Smith is the mover and shaker that's getting everything going. He's the man. He's in charge. And he took time out. Some call him essentially a general. He came over and sat by George Albert Smith and said, you know, how's your day going, essentially? This is in George Albert's diary from much later. He reminisced this. And he said, you know, I don't feel, and he didn't use the word feel because he was a teenage boy, I'm sure. But he essentially was saying, I don't feel like I'm needed. I don't feel like I have a place. And the prophet took time to make this person feel needed, make him feel like he had a place. And of course, you know that he stayed after the rest of his life. That made a huge difference to him. That made an impact. Would somebody read on your handout at the bottom of the page by 1834? Thank you, Carla.
By 1834, the United Firm faced several significant issues because of the violence that drove church members from Jackson County in the summer and fall of 1833. William W. Phelps printing office and Sidney Gilbert's store were no longer in operation. Yet the firm was still responsible for debts incurred to supply these establishments. The Newell K. Wood.
Turn over.
Oh, good. That makes much more sense. That's weird. The Newell K. Whitney store in Ohio also had substantial debts by this time. In addition, two members of the United Firm of Missouri were accused of not helping the poor and needy, thus breaking their covenants. On April 10, 1834, members of the United Firm in Kirkland decided to dissolve the firm. On April 23rd, the prophet received the revelation recorded in Doctrine and Covenants 104, in which the Lord counseled the members of the United Firm.
And we know that the United Firm later became the United Order. Okay. Would someone read section 104, verse 2? You can read more than once. Thank you.
With promise immutable and unchangeable, that inasmuch as those whom I commanded were faithful, they should be blessed with a multiplicity of blessings.
What is a multiplicity? A bunch. All kinds. Okay. So that basically said if we're faithful to our covenants, the Lord will give us a bunch of blessings. All righty. Would someone read 11 through 14? Thank you.
It is wisdom in me, therefore, a commandment I give unto you, that ye shall organize yourselves and appoint every man his stewardship, that every man may give an account unto me of the stewardship which is appointed unto him. For it is expedient that I, the Lord, should make every man accountable as a steward over earthly blessings, which I have made and prepared for my creatures. I, the Lord, stretched out the heavens and built the earth, my very handiwork, and all things therein are mine.
Okay, so the Lord created the earth and all things in it. So it's back to this covetousness that was talked about earlier. It belongs to God. Don't covet, right? Yes? Easier said than done. Okay.
There's a couple of thoughts that I just had. One is the parable of the talents, where each was given their stewardship and agency to manage that. And it also made me think of the scene in It's a Wonderful Life, where there's a run on the bank, and he's up there just desperate to handle the situation. What do you need? What is
thank you for sharing. I am going to kind of skip a little bit. And these were some of the things that I skipped. Kirkland is to separate itself from Missouri. Kirkland's to print the Lord's words. Kirkland's to build up the church. So we had Zion's area in Missouri, but we know the printing press got thrown out the window, the store got destroyed, all the goods were ruined, and they still have the bills from all of these and the expense. Financially, they were not doing well. So let's skip to verses 79 through 82. Would somebody read that? Thank you.
And it is my will that you shall humble yourselves before me, and obtain this blessing by your diligence and humility and the prayer of faith. And inasmuch as you are diligent and humble, and exercise the prayer of faith, behold, I will soften the hearts of those to whom you are offended, until I shall send angels to you for your deliverance. Therefore, write speedily to New York, and write according to that which shall be dictated by my spirit. And I will soften the hearts of those to whom you are indebted, that it shall be taken away out of their minds to bring affliction upon you. And inasmuch as you are humble and faithful, and call upon my name, behold, I will give you the victory.
And that sounds beautiful. All right, I'm going to let you read the excerpt from D. Todd Christofferson. And would someone read, well, you can read that on your own. Would someone read the big paragraph on Zion's camp, please? Thank you.
Zion's camp marched 900 miles through 4 states, 20 to 40 miles a day for 45 days. Camp members experienced blistered feet, hot and humid weather conditions, food shortages, and unhealthy food. On occasion, intense thirst moved some men to drink swamp water from which mosquito larvae had been strained, sometimes using their teeth strainers, or to drink water out of horse tracks after a rainstorm. Throughout the expedition, Zion's camp was often threatened with violence from others. The prophet later explained, God did not want you to fight. He could not organize his kingdom and 12 men to open the gospel door to the nations of the earth, and with 70 men under their direction to follow in their tracks, unless he took them from a body of men who had offered their lives and who had made as great a sacrifice as did Abraham. In February 1835, the Quorum of the 12 Apostles and the First Quorum of the 70 were organized. 9 of the original apostles, all 7 presidents of the 70's Quorum, and all 63 of the members of that quorum had served in the army of Israel that marched to western Missouri in 1834.
I just want to tell you about Sylvester Smith. He was no relation to the prophet. Along the march, everything that happened, he complained. He complained when Joseph's dog barked. And at one point he wanted to kill the dog. And Joseph got a little angry and saved that dog. And there was contention going on. There were bickering. This was rough. This was hard. And yes, they would get hangry. They didn't have enough of everything they needed. And so at one point, they woke up and then all of their horses were lame. Joseph said, this is a reflection on us. We are not behaving like God's people. We're not. We can do better. They went to bed that night and prayed, and when they woke up in the morning, all of the horses were healed except Sylvester Smith. His horse was dead. It was a direct reflection on how you behave. I want to tell you that when they went back, Joseph, and Sylvester Smith complained both ways, up and back. Never did stop complaining. And Joseph still put him as one of the presidents of the 70s that we just read about. He had word, and Joseph forgave him and saw him through God's eyes. There's hope for all of us. I do want to just say, read to yourself, oh, would I have gone? Would I have gone on that march?
So, we start with George Albert Smith, where Joseph had, talked to him individually as a young man. And thinking about my comment of making it relevant to today. Our today, or my today, was going out on youth activities with Brother Lasko and Bishop Simpkins and Carl Snow as a young man. That to me was my Zionist camp, seeing these righteous priesthood leaders, loving fathers, take us out into the wilderness, and we did it for fun. But it was an example to me, it gave me that Zionist camp of seeing how to do things. And making it today, there was an announcement about a fundraiser for your youth. That their Zionist camp is to go to FSY, to participate in state youth activities, to be in your ward, going to youth council. That's their Zionist camp for today. Is my perception of making it relevant for each of us. And I'm grateful that I have that experience here in Wilmington.
Thank you for sharing, Sam. I'm going to skip. You can read what Wilford Wood said. Was it valuable? Was it a success? But section 105, verse 5, essentially says, think celestial. Who has been teaching us that since he's become a prophet? Think celestial. And that is the message that I hope you get from today's lesson. And I say this in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Father in heaven, we thank you for this day. We thank you that we've been able to meet here for church today, and especially for the second hour. We thank you that we can be able to learn all the things that we did today, both in sacrament meeting and in Sunday school here. Please bless that we're able to have a good and safe rest of our Sabbath day today, and spend time with our loved ones and our family, and continue to try to grow close with you and say these things in Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you. Thank you. You always take good care of us. And you always let us know ahead of time. You are thinking.
I'm thinking ahead.
I love it.
I'm glad your laptop cooperated.
Oh, I know. The last 2 times it's been
Yeah.
great.
Yeah. Oh, there you go.
So
Oh, Sam. Oh, I will tell Bruce that you were here today.
Yes, please do.
Yes.
I love it. I love being here. I caught your eye as we were in the foyer before church.
Yeah, and I thought, I think I know him. I think I know who that is.
Yes, and I think somebody said, well, that's Sister Lee, and so I love it. In fact, it was David. He said hello to David Corey
Yes.
as he came in, I think. And,
Yes.
yeah.
Yep.
Anyhow, thank you for
Well, thank you for visiting and sharing. That was great.
Yes. You're, for me, you're a cute little family that you're probably a grandma by
I
now.
am, absolutely.
Yeah, so.
Yeah. Thanks for returning.
Yes, it makes me want to move here.
We would love
These
it.
feelings, but yeah, when I get home, I feel the spirit there too.
Of course, of course. Church is true wherever we are.
Wherever we are. So thank you so much.
Uh-huh.
Then I called you out and said, "Oh, that's a good guy." Oh, it was fundamental in my life, for sure.
You do great preparations for your lesson.
I do. I don't feel comfortable if I haven't prepared, but I was that way at school too. I never, in all the years I taught, went to school not knowing exactly and having everything prepared, because I don't wing it well. I mean, I can barely get
Yes, you
through
do.
with preparation.
Yes, you do. You just have to relax to know it.
Thank you.
Take care, Ellen. All right, appreciate you signing up. Appreciate you signing up. Three others. Maybe it's you and I and two others. Plus there's a bunch already said they go. How are you? How'd the lesson go? Sorry I wasn't here to cause trouble.
Darn. Were you teaching?
Oh, we're trying to get the ward ministry things right. It is. So we're working on it.
I totally understand. That is a big job.
There's so many people that you have no idea who they are. It's just, there's more inactives.
I do have an idea because I was in that position for over 5 years, trying, and that was the very first time it was assigned, and we had to start from scratch.
We're using the missionaries.
Yes, absolutely. We did. Yep. So I was surprised we got a change in
Do you have any
Relief
idea
Society
what-
because I don't.
That's so weird because usually they follow the presidency. I wonder if
Good to see you.
there's gonna be something.
Well, somebody's health probably isn't good. That's what I'm thinking.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Yes, Navajo Court. Yeah, so we're all neighbors.
Navajo Court.
Yes, yeah.
That's the same court.
It's just right up, just past it, yeah. Well, take care. Church is true, and that's what I love. You feel the same spirit here as
and